Alrighty, welcome back to my channel. Last video we talked about bubble tea and using lip gloss for doing some styling and doing some really fancy stuff. Today I'm gonna show you how we can make this taps kind of like interaction in the terminal. I don't know, I absolutely love the terminal. I think Sidekick is based on the terminal and it just, yeah, it's fascinating for me. I used to absolutely hate the terminal, but now I absolutely love it. So yeah, we will talk about how you can build this kind of like TUI in the terminal with taps, and then you can change between which tap is active. And obviously you can run your imagination on what you can do with this, but it will be a good practice for you to learn more about bubble tea. Let's get started. So the first thing I'm gonna do is actually I'm gonna delete the done file, and that will give me this file here that we have, which is main.go. This file has basically an almost empty bubble tea application. If you don't know how to do this, you can refer to the previous video. And you can also refer to the blog post where I'll go into a lot more details. But there's nothing much crazy here. We have an empty model, and then we have an empty init function, so we don't do much on init. And then the only thing we have here is basically when you press Q or Control plus C, you will quit the app. So I can make this a little bit bigger, just in case. And then what we actually print is basically hello bubble tea. So if I run this now, what I will see is just hello bubble tea. And then if I click Q, if I press Q, then I'm out of that tab, basically, out of application, basically. And then we run it like this with the new program. Cool. So again, if you don't know what this is, you can refer to the previous video. So let's start by making a very simple kind of like a tab box. So to do that, what I'll do is I'll basically do a simple, let's just call this tab style. Let's just call this tab style. And then tab style here is going to be, of course, I'm going to be using Lipgloss. So a new style off. What I will do here is I'm going to use the built-in border inside of Lipgloss, and in this case is just round a border. And which sides, I don't care, because it applies to all sides. That's beautiful. And then I'll add some padding. So I'll just say, hey, give me padding on the left of 1, and then also give me padding on the right of 1. Cool. And then finally, because I like colors, I like a lot of colors. So let's just say border, I can't spell border, beautiful. Border foreground is going to be lipgloss dot color, I think is 187. I don't remember. Let me just have a quick look. Lipgloss color of 183, not 187, 183. Beautiful. So if we haven't built anything, but this is basically the tab style. So what happens here is that basically we're adding this border to whatever we render with the style. So in order to show you this, what I mean by this, let's just do that right now. So instead of returning this, what I will do instead of just return tab style the render, let's just call this again, hello bubble tea. Right, so if I render this now, if I go here, run this, so what I will see here is basically this taps around that, and then you can see also a little bit padding from the left, a little bit padding from the right, so it's kind of like setting up to be a tap. Gorgeous. Now, this is very simple to do in bubble tea, which is really cool. Now, what I want to do next is basically have this have like kind of like a slice of different titles, and then I want to loop over that slice to render things. So let's do that now. So in order to do that, I'm going to have a type here. I'll call this type TUI tap, TUI tap, like that. And then this type will just have a title. And this title is going to be a string, beautifully. And then I'm going to have a var of basically, let's call this TUI taps, like that. And this var is going to be equal to a slice of TUI taps, a slice of TUI taps. The first one here, TUI tap with the title. TUI tap with the title of, this is correct. I'm not sure why this is not picking up. Let's just call the services here. And yes, that's right, because we haven't added struct in here. Sorry, I write so many languages, sometimes things get confused. Beautiful. So that's the first one. And then let's just call this logs. I don't remember what I did in the demo, but let's just call this logs, services, logs, and then let's just call this terminal, for example. Like this, like so. Cool. So now we have this slice of 2E tabs, basically. Let's loop over them and render them one by one. So instead of doing that, what I'll do here, I'm going to have basically a slice of strings in here. And then what I will do is basically I ignore the index and then the tab itself. And this is coming back from ranging over the 2E tabs slice. What I'll do with this is I'm going to say append to S. What am I going to append? I'm going to append the tab style, the render, the tab.title. So I'm basically, and then this is S equals, right? So I'm adding all of these together. Sorry, this is my bad. Again, I write so many languages nowadays. So basically, I'm appending this in the S. So basically, I get a list of strings in this case. And then instead of doing this, what I'll do is I'm going to return Lipgloss the join horizontal, and then this join from where? We're going to join from the bottom. So you can imagine we are putting these tabs together, and then the kind of the axis along which we join them is going to be the bottom of these tabs. And then what am I going to join here? I'm going to join all the strings that I have in that list right there. So if I render this again, I should get services, logs, and terminal. And this is basically how you build things with Bubble Tea. You basically make styles with the different styles that you want, and you have your data, and you render things around. Sounds beautiful. So that was simple. I'm just rendering 3 tabs right now, but they don't really look like tabs. I'll get to that soon. But the one thing that I want to tackle right now is basically handling states. There are multiple ways to handle the states. I'm going to do this in the simplest way possible, which basically I'm going to keep track of which active index in that slice is active. So to do that, I need to modify my model here. So, okay, let me do that again. So I need to modify my model here. Go back. Okay, cool. So this model here, we will have an active tab index here, which is going to be an integer. Cool. So I have that here, and then I'm going to initialize this with 0 in this case, right? So this is basically the initial value of the model. You can imagine this is as your state if you worked with front end before. So basically we have this active tab index, and then what I will do here, now I actually need the index. So I'm going to say this is index right there. And then I will say if index equals the model.activeTab index. So now I know that this is the active tab. And instead of doing this, I will do something else. I'm simply just going to modify this tab style a little bit. I'm just going to say, hey, remember that border that we added, which was basically Lipgloss to rounded border? Let's not do rounded border. Let's just do block border at this point. And then let's just delete this. We want to have it for all the sites basically, and that will be basically if it is an active tab. And then if it's not an active tab, then I'm just gonna use what we did before. Let me just save this to style it, and then I'm not gonna change anything else. But if I do this now, you'll see that the first one has this block border that's being basically applied because it's the active index. Sounds good. And you can see how we're putting this stuff together. It's actually not complicated, but it's beautiful. It's kind of like drawing slowly in a terminal. So I like it very much. Cool. So that's one thing. The next thing I want to do is basically be able to update this active index. So let's do that too. Again, this is very simple to do here. In your update model, I'm going to add another case. And then in this case, I'm going to say if the user presses L, then I'm going to basically increment the active tab index, and I will return the model, and I won't return anything, any commands to the UI. So that's good. And if it's H, then I will decrement it, and that's about it. Let's run this again. And you can see here, if I click L, I am incrementing it, and if I click H, I am decrementing it, and everything works beautifully. So that's obviously kind of like a proof of concept, or basically how you can have something kind of like interactive in the terminal right away. Now, this does not look like an actual tab that you can see in a UI. So let's fix that. The good thing about Bubble Tea is that it's extremely flexible. So what I mean by that is that basically we can actually this basically tab this border style here that we have, this can actually be made in different ways. So if I were to look at this rounded border function here, what does it do is basically return, oopsie, I'm trying to get here. Yeah, it basically returns this struct here. And this struct here is basically a collection of Unicode characters that can be printed to the terminal. So it seems that this stuff was carried over from back in the terminals where we used to actually draw like a lot of geographic stuff in the terminal. But these basically are Unicode characters that your terminal knows how to render. And then you can see here, Bubble T will basically handle whatever kind of like string that you put to it. It's going to try to put it at these spaces. So before I kind of like show you how we can actually use this properly, let's have something a bit more crazy. So let's just say here, let's just say this is called this tab border style. Let's just call this tab border exactly itself. Yep. And I'm going to make a new border in this case. And then I'm going to say that, hey, like the top of this border is going to be the string I. And then we can also say that the bottom of this border, bottom right, no, just the bottom of this border is going to be the string, I don't know, let's just say dash, or maybe let's just say something more crazy. Let's just say it's a star, right? And then that is the tab border. So I'm kind of like redefining another border. And then what I will do is basically I'm going to replace this with tab border here. Now let's render this and then see how this goes. And you can see here, this is exactly what we asked Bubble T to do. Basically render this string at the top and render that string at the bottom. So this is really powerful because now you can play around and have whatever really strings that you want. You can have any kind of border that you can imagine, which is really beautiful. Now, this is a good time to kind of introduce a lot of the Unicode elements and Unicode stuff that we can use. Obviously, what I just did was quite scrappy, but let's just try to do something a little bit more tactful that looks really beautiful. So what I'll do here is I've just copied one of those borders. So I will paste that border here. This is the top. So let's just call this the top right, for example. Yep, that's beautiful. And then go back here and get me this one here for, let's call this for the top left. That's right. Oopsie, the top left, that's right. And then for this, I'm gonna copy this and paste it here. Yep, like that. Now let's just run this again and I'll show you what I mean by that. So it's kind of like having those stuff at the sides. So you can see here, obviously you can play around as much as you want, but I'll show you this real quick before we get to the really beautiful stuff. But I can also do this at the top. Let's just add this bad boy. And then at the bottom, no, just the bottom, my man, don't do this to me, my man. Don't do this to me, my man. Yes, just the bottom. Yes. At the bottom, let's add this bad boy. And then if I render this now, you can see that we are actually drawing this, this border like that. And that's really beautiful. I actually like this a lot. So you can imagine whatever you want. And obviously the Unicode characters are really massive. You can have a look at there. There's so many things that you can render with the emojis, collections, and tools and everything. So it's a really big world if you look into this properly. Now, you can go wild like I just did, or for the sake of this demo, I am simply just going to copy what I already have there, which is beautifully done here. So I'm just going to copy this border style from here. Again, this is not crazy stock or anything like that, but it's just basically adding this border here. So if I take these bad boys out, so you can see here now that we have a single line, like a single line for top and bottom, and then the left as well. And then we have this curved stuff from the top right, left and top right. And then at the bottom, we have this kind of like inverted T shape. So if I render this now, you will see now that they are actually connecting together kind of thing. So, and that's really, really beautiful, no? So they are connecting together, and I like that a lot, actually. Cool. So they're connected together. And in this case, we are drawing this kind of like tab. So you can see how we are literally just drawing to the terminal. So this is the tab border. And then if you remember the demo, when it's active, it doesn't have like, it doesn't have a bottom one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this and paste it and then just say active tab border in this case. And then I'll keep this the same. This is maybe not the best way to do this, but we're going wild a little bit. So I'm going to keep this the same and then just make the bottom empty. Beautiful. And then I'll go here when we do the active tab index with the rendering. And instead of using this weird stuff, what I will do instead is I'm going to, what are you doing? I'm going to, yes, change this to active tab border. Now, if I render this now, you can see here that looks much better. Yes, I have forgotten one more small thing here. So let me just clear this. I have forgotten there's a little bit of an update that we have to do to the bottom and the left. At the bottom right and the bottom left. So I'm going to copy these and then go back here, go to the top again. And then when it's active, we're going to render these two instead. So delete this. And now this should look good. Fantastic. So this is basically how you can play around with this state, working with the terminal, working with basically the styling to make it look beautiful. Now, the other thing I want to show you also how to do, which is a little bit like kind of tricky, but also like a good trick to know, is that basically we need to have some sort of like a continuation here until the end. So basically show that this is the end of the terminal, right? To do that, I need to get access to the width of the terminal in which the program is being rendered. I'm going to do this silently, and because I've already done this from the previous video, but I'll explain it quickly after I've done it. Cool. So what I've done here is I've basically added this property called win width, which is the window width of where the app is being rendered. And I have added a listener to basically listen to this message, which will come from T, window message size. And then in this case, I'm just basically copying the message which into my model, and then I'm using that. I'm going to use that later. So now that I have an idea about how long these bad boys are, basically how wide is the terminal, I can kind of like measure how wide are my tabs and then fill up the rest. So let's do that together. Cool. So what I've done here is basically I have taken out these to be the tabs. So that's the string that joins these tabs. And then I'm trying to calculate how much space is left in my window. And I do this by basically looking into what's the win width, which is basically the whole width. And then I minus basically the width of these tabs -2 for a little bit of a gap. And then I basically make a spacer. In this case, I'm grabbing the tab style, canceling the borders on the left, canceling the borders on the right, canceling the borders on the top. And then I'm rendering basically a space, repeating that as many times as space left. Remember, in the terminal, the unit is basically a space, like it's a one character, right? Because everything is monospaced. And then at the end, I'm just joining everything again together. So if I run this, I should be able to see this beautifully driven all the way, drawn all the way. And that's really, really cool. That's really cool. I love that very much. So that's one thing here. And then just to add a little bit more, I need to add kind of like some kind of instructions to the user that, hey, you can play around with this. So I'll show you how to add that real quick. Cool. So what I've done here is basically I have written some content, and that content basically says, just give me the title from whichever active index from this list, from the slice. And this is not the best way because basically this can give you a panic, and I'll show you that later. But I'm not gonna show you how to solve that for now. It's just like this is just a demo. It's more about styling this video, and then I'm also doing some help text. adding like a faded color. I hope this is a faded color. I don't really exactly remember. And then basically I'm rendering, hey, some help text that says, press H to change the tabs. So let's render this. And then eventually I'm just joining everything vertically at the center. I'm joining basically drawing the tabs row, I'm drawing the content, and then I'm drawing the helper text. So let's run this and see how it looks like. Exactly. So that's exactly what we wanted. Obviously, that color with the help text is absolutely ridiculous. So let me see what the number is for these colors. It's 241. See, so that was really, really off the chart for me here. So it's 241 here. So let me save that again and run this again. And this is basically how you can use that. And notice how I used white for rendering the content. I always like the way white looks here because maybe for my terminal, it looks a bit different from that color that comes from the theme. And I just love it. And there you have it. That's how you can have this interaction in the terminal. Let me know if you like this video. Let me know if you want more on bubble tea. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.